In this episode, I look at a Yamaha K960 natural sound cassette deck with OBB and DVX. This one here, I'm told, does not record, play, fast forward, or rewind. In other words, nothing works. So let's check it out and see what's wrong. This one is a client-owned unit. He brought it out to me to take a look at. He has got some tapes that are in DVX and he's unable to play them because the unit's not working. It sounds like a motor running inside, but let's get it apart and see where the problem lies. It might be something as simple as a broken belt. That's what we're always hoping. It's just going to be a belt problem on a lot of these units, and a lot of times it is. Sometimes you get a bad motor, but in this case you could hear something running, but apparently there's no tape movement. So before I even try to load a tape, let's take the top off it and take a look inside. So 4 screws from the side and we're in like Flynn. The first thing we notice in a deck of this caliber is that Yamaha was very proud of making their own boards, and they even put their name on it. This is the DBX board, and the board below is the Dolby and conventional audio circuits, but the DBX processing is done by an external board. Now, as I thought, it is going to be a belt. As you can see, the belt in here has, well, basically it's turned to mush. First things first, let's see if we can get the remnants of the old belt out of here without making too big a mess. Sometimes we get lucky and we can actually just peel the old belt off, and most of it will come off without leaving a huge mess on the pulley. This is probably not going to be the case on this one though. Looks like this belt is melted pretty good and it's going to require a little bit of cleaning, but that shouldn't be too big a deal on this. I'm going to pull the deck apart. We'll take the deck out so that I can pull the mechanism apart. A second belt that's also failed on us is the counter belt, and you can see this one uses the Hall effect device, and that belt is, you can see, it's broken and it's also probably turned to mush, which it has. Wonderful, wonderful, just wonderful stuff. End up with belt remnants all over my fingers when I work on this one. It'll take me a month of Sundays to clean this off. So yeah, we got to change at least 2 belts on this one. I think there is only 2. One for the counter, and that also operates the auto stop through this Hall effect device, and the other one is the main capstan belt. Got to remove this bracket. That's got the Hall effect sensor on it. Let's remove the bottom. Looks like it was in for service somewhere at some point. Wonder who serviced this before. Is it Commercial Electronics by chance? Oh yes, it was serviced at Commercial Electronics. Here's the bottom of the flywheel with the remnants of the belt still intact. We might be able to clean this off without having to actually pull the whole mechanism apart. I'm using a Q-tip here that's been soaked in WD-40. Yes, WD-40. We're using this because the oil in the WD-40 will saturate into the rubber and dissolve it, which will make it much easier to clean this off. I'll get a fair bit of it off right now, but the rest of it I'm going to let it soak in for a bit. When I take the mechanism apart, it'll just wipe right off. It's really like magic. Baby oil also works just as well. So I got to take the faceplate off on this one to get the chassis out. I believe there's a couple screws that go in from the front here, which are accessible after the faceplate has been removed. And there's a couple connectors that I can undo to unplug. And you remove the, this is the Dolby lights from the front, the Dolby and DBX lights, so that comes off. As you can see, the record level controls and so forth are just linked. There's some linkage that connects up here. So we'll get the base plate out of the way. And now I can remove the screws that hold the actual deck in place. Open this up and remove the tape cover. Get that out of the way. Oh, look. Toys. Whatever the heck that is. But that was in there. Looks like something's been spilled on this thing on the front here too. I see some corrosion. Oh, there's a screw inside. Looks like a screw that's got a loose screw. What is this from? It's got a loose screw. Whether that's from this or whether it got dropped in the front. That somebody may have dropped a screw in the front of the thing at some point. Alright, there should be some black screws I think in the front here. I think these ones here are the ones that hold the deck in place. I'm just going to take a look on the back and see what holds it in place. I think it's just the black screws hold the chassis in place, I believe. And removing them, I should be able to get the whole chassis should drop out. Now this whole deck should, I think it all lifts out from the back. If I'm not mistaken on this one. I think I got all the screws. Or is there another one? There's one more up top here. And then the whole chassis should lift out from the back. Just like that. Now if I lift this out, should be able to unplug the deck from the rest of the box. A couple plugs here in the top. And the whole tape deck portion, the transport, I think will lift out. There's probably another plug on the bottom for the heads, but move this one over here too while I'm at it, just to give myself a little bit of clearance. And the tape transport should lift out without too much effort. The deck plugs in, but the head doesn't. It has to be unsoldered. When you're doing this, be sure you create yourself a little chart so that you know where the wires go. In this case, I've marked it the gray wire with red shield and white, the brown wire and the yellow wire accordingly. Otherwise you'll get your left and right channels mixed up. Well, this one's the erase head, so that one's pretty self-explanatory. Yamaha probably thought they were doing the right thing by not putting a plug, because that's just one plug that's not going to fail, right? So we'll just solder the wires down directly, and then we don't have to worry about getting noise or intermittent problems caused by a loose plug. But now, with the wires disconnected, the transport will lift out. Well, mostly. There's still, the tape counter is still connected, and it, I think, plugs in though. We just have to cut a couple of wire ties and it should unplug. That's the tape counter for the memory for stopping. So the tape counter plugs in over here. Okay, now I've got the transport out. I can move the rest of the unit aside and work on the transport, clean it up and get a new belt in there. Remove this screw, and this should remove the bracket and allow me to remove the motor. Just one screw, and it should, of course I gotta cut another zip tie because the motor wires are trapped. Now I should be able to lift this whole bracket out of here and clean this up a little better. As you can see, yeah, it's pretty sad when these belts go like this. It's just ugly. It's a little easier to clean it up if you take it apart, as opposed to try to clean it up with the unit all together. I'm using alcohol and WD-40 and whatever else I can get in here to clean this mess up, and we'll try to get as much of the stuff off of here as we can, and then find a new belt for it. But it's when these belts go like this, it's always just ugly. They make such a mess, and you spend more time just trying to get the remnants off. But it'll clean up. You know, I put WD-40 on before. What the nice beauty of WD-40 is you soak it in WD-40 and it will dissolve the remainder of the black goo, and that's what I'm going to use on my hands. I'm going to spray my hands down with WD-40 and wipe it off. But it really makes short work of cleaning off belts like this. WD-40, or you could use baby oil too. That'll work just as well. It's the oil, right? It's the oil that's in it that will dissolve the bad rubber and just turn it into more of a liquid. And then you can just use isopropanol and clean it off, and it will really come off. It's like magic. If you saw how this was before and how it is now, it looks like a completely different flywheel. Now take the other side here and wipe it some more, and we've got most of that crap off of here now. Very little remains. Remember how bad that was a few minutes ago, and now it's almost ready to work. Use my screwdriver just to scrape what I can out of the edge here. In a couple more minutes, this thing will be flawless. It'll be shiny. And then we'll do the same on the motor. I haven't done the actual motor over here yet. You can see how gross that one still is. We'll get the grease, or get the rubber off of this as well, and get this pulley nice and clean. Same thing. Okay, now that I've got the flywheel itself pretty much presentable, now I spray some WD-40 onto a cloth, and I'm going to use that to clean up my hands. As you can see what I mean, it'll just take this stuff off like it's going out of style. It's the oil in there that will dissolve it, and then once I've wiped it off my hands, I'll go wash my hands with soap and water and take the WD-40 off. But that's it's an easy way to clean your hands up. Baby oil or WD-40 or any type of petroleum-based cleaner. Baby oil works good. Okay, I've got a new belt, or one that should be okay, should fit. We'll see whether I can get this one on here and have it work. There we go. Got it hooked around the motor. Now I just got to pull the motor in place. that. There, that belt spins quite freely. I got a bit of a twist in it there. Let's have to try and take that out. The other belt that, of course, needs to be replaced is the counter belt. Oh, that's where that screw came from. That screw that I found that was floating around inside, wherever the heck I did with it, that was one of these screws here that holds the cover in place. There's one missing here, so that's where that screw came from. So we'll just remove this one to change out the counter belt. Gotta get in there with a small screwdriver. There we go. And I'll take off this top. Couple little push pins. Take off this cover, and then I should be able to get in there a little easier. Remove that cover and remove this bracket, and that backing will drop out of there. It probably has a burned out bulb. I don't care. And here's the remainder of the other belt that is turned to mush as well. Of course, the rest of it's still in the pulley. Try and get it out of there. We're gonna have to clean it out though for sure, because it's like the rest of them, is left behind a gooey mess. I don't want to put any oil-based compounds in here because I don't want it to slip on the idler. So I'm just using just plain isopropanol on this one, just to get this piece out. Try not to get any more of this gooey belt anywhere where it could cause a problem. Same goes for this other pulley up here, where the remainder of the belt is stuck in the pulley groove itself. We'll just see if we can get that out of here. Okay, I got a new belt that's about the right size. It fits quite nicely over the pulley here. It turns the tape counter no problem. That's what we need, is we need it to turn the tape counter and of course this magnet which sits in front of the Hall effect device. So now I can put the tape cover back in place, and we'll start reassembling this unit and see what happens. And well, that light's not going to work because the wire's busted off of it, so I guess the bulb itself is shot, so we'll just we won't even bother with that. We won't bother about the bulb. I know someone just got upset, but I don't have a bulb for it, and getting a bulb for it's going to add extra cost, and the guy that owns this thing is more interested in just being able to place a few of his old tapes because it has DBX on it. That's kind of the more important thing, rather than the aesthetics as to how the tape looks while it's spinning around inside. I don't think he cares too much about that. It's more about will it play his tapes. "15 minutes later, I finally get the 2 screws to thread in. I think the front loading basket really needs to be taken out to access them properly where they're located, but I was able to get them back in place. So now the mechanism is ready to go back into the chassis. Oh, I gotta put this top cover's got to go back on. So that's got to go on first, and then this cover goes on second with the push pins that go through it. Got to remove the insert. That should pull everything back into the proper alignment. Taking the handle off the screwdriver bit, it's just a little bit easier to thread these things in without the added weight of the screwdriver handle in the way. And there was one more up here and another one in the bottom corner. I think that's it. There's just the 5 of them. There. Now we put the plugs back in for the motors and stuff. And there's the counter. It plugged in over here. These are for the lights, or the whatever was on the front there. We'll solder on the wires again on the bottom. Got to get them through here first. Got our gray wire. Red, and the ground in white. So that was the way that they connected these ones up. No plugs, just directly solder the wires down to the board. And then the next one was the ground, or the brown wire, which follows the same. Red on the left, white on the right, looking from the front, and the ground in the middle. This is for the other channel, so we got a right channel and a left channel. And then of course the erase head is next to it. Bring our wires in through here to plug into the controls. We'll plug in the 2 cables. This is for the control buttons, and we'll try to get this back in place too. So they hook in from the bottom first, and then clip in on the top. And if we have our output level and our record level controls at minimum and have the controls themselves set to minimum, the front panel should just slide into place. As you can see, my hands are all black again from dealing with the remnants of that belt that had melted onto the chassis. You know, you'll get some companies that use really good belts and they never failed, and then you get other ones that use these really crappy belts that just disintegrated after a few years of sitting around. It's kind of hit and miss. Rewind. Excellent. Fast forward. Excellent. Does it play? It plays! Tape counter obviously is working, because if I were to stop it, then it will automatically go into auto stop. So if I stop the reel from turning, it stops because it's a Hall effect sensor. Now we've got our noise reduction here. Dolby, DBX. Oh, this only has Dolby B. Interesting. This is a Dolby B and DBX only, so no noise reduction. Dolby B, and then DBX. Let's just turn the tape over here and see what's on this side. Beautiful display. It's green. Well, it's a fluorescent display, but they got a green lens, and I tell you, this fluorescent display is just wild looking. I'll show it to you. It's beautiful. It's a nice, like a grass green. It's not coming across on camera as I thought it would. It's not looking as deep a green as it really is. It's weird that the color balance, or the color of the display, doesn't appear on camera to be the same color, but it looks the same color as just the LED. To the eye, this looks almost the same. Actually, it looks even a darker green than the LED, but on camera, this looks more to the blue green. But it is a it's a really nice looking green. It just doesn't come off on camera looking like it does in real life. So the speed calibration tape is actually pretty damn close. That's it's very good. So of course 440 is the A string on a guitar. And as you can see, that's my voice. That's when I talk, that's my voice that's changing it. You know, we're very close. That's another way, right? You can check your speed. It's just a basic little guitar tuner. If you don't have a scope or a counter and you want to check your speed, if you have a tape that you know is certified and it's recorded at 440 hertz, then you can use just a basic guitar tuner, and that will show you that you are on frequency. The head could probably use cleaning on this one too. Might as well give it the royal treatment while we've got it apart. Doesn't look to be too bad, but yeah, there is some gunge that's on that pinch roller. That's probably gunge that's on the head too. So it's just we'll give the head a clean and the pinch roller and stuff a clean on this, and then I'm going to make a test recording and just see how it sounds. Other than the fact that a belt turned to goo, or two belts, I should say. The idler is still driving the take up and supply hubs, which is quite amazing considering, you know, that it's made out of rubber too. But as we can see, it rewinds and fast forwards okay. We're going to do a test recording now. Let me just hook up my music player and we'll get a tape in here that we can record on. Alright, so we'll go into record and start the music playing. I'm recording this in DVX so I can get some pretty good levels. I'll go right up to +3 and beyond. And we'll play this back and we'll play it right into the camera so you guys can hear how this deck sounds. Right, got it recorded. I'm going to plug the camera in. We're going to play this back directly into the camera. Okay, that wasn't exactly how I expected it would be. The left channel was a little bit lower than the right channel, and that is probably this tape, because this tape is one that's got a lot of wear on it, and hence why it's marked FUBAR. And of course, with a worn tape, if you're using noise reduction such as DBX, you really will hear it if there's any level differences. You can see if we look at the surface of the tape, if the camera will focus on the edge of the tape here, you will see that the surface of the tape is, as you can see, well worn. This tape has tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of passes on it. I had a bunch of these Maxell tapes given to me, or a buddy of mine that they were his dad's, and he transferred all the stuff over and then gave me the tapes. And I went through the tapes, and say a number of them were pitched because they were, you know, shot. Other ones were sold. The ones that were in good shape, I've gotten rid of a few of them. I've hung on to a few for testing. And then there's ones like this that you know, one that I wouldn't give away to somebody else because it's got a lot of imperfections, but they're good enough for testing tape decks. If I do another recording here, let's just do a recording without DBX. See, when you use DBX, you really push the tape itself, because what DBX does is it reduces the loud passages by 50%, but it boosts the quiet passages by 50%. And what can happen is if you have a tape that your output's not quite equal to your input, it really messes up the compression. So if you've got bad tapes, DBX is not the best to record in by any means. But see, now my levels are we'll play. This is that's playing the DVX stuff back, which is left channel is a little lower than right. Now, when it cuts in here, okay, there's some damage on the tape right there. I'll play this portion into the camera. This is with Dolby. See what I mean, right? But I think it's just the tape. If I tried a different tape, or even record it on a different part of this tape, where it's not damaged as bad. This tape's got, to say, tons of hours, and try that. I've got in DVX again. There, now we're at the same level. Let's see. Yeah, now it's the same. We got this. Whoops, got the same level coming back as we had going in. Right. So just the tape. There's nothing wrong with the deck itself. The DVX is actually working just fine. It's just this tape is bad, and so that's why it's labeled foobar, because it is. It's been chewed up and spit out by more tape decks, and it's the tape that goes into decks that have unknown problems. Anyway, this one's done. Thanks for watching. Bye.